The purpose of this meeting is to conduct the business of the Gettysburg Area School District. Board of Directors meetings and committee meetings are open to the public, but not public meetings. All school district residents who wish to make public comment should sign in prior to the start of the meeting and request to speak during citizens' participation. School district residents wishing to speak to the board shall only do so during citizen participation. The board will not tolerate public outbursts or disruptions and will not tolerate comments made outside of citizens' participation part of the meeting. Public comment is welcome and all issues will be referred to the appropriate board committee or administrators. Comments will be also summarized in the official board minutes, which will be made available by contacting the business office. Would everyone please take a moment to silence your cell phones and electronic devices. All right, so for roll call, Kenny and Ryan are not here this evening. They're excused. And we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, at this time, I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Perrin for notices and communications. We have quite a few this evening.
Thank you. We'll start with a school presentation. I'll turn it over to Dr. Matzner, and he'll do introductions.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. As I said at our last board meeting, once a month through the remainder of the school year, we're going to have kind of a school spotlights and have all of our different buildings come to the board meeting to present on things that they've done throughout the school year and some of their successes through the course of the year. So we're going to continue with that tonight with Dr. Lappy and a contingent from Franklin Township Elementary to talk a little bit about what's happening over there. So I will turn it over to Dr. Lappy.
All right. Good evening, everyone, and thanks for letting us present tonight. I have with me everybody over there. We have our reading team that's going to talk about Celebrate Reading and some fundraising that we've done and what that does for our kids and how we can get books in the hands of our kids. We also have a parent, Mr. Falks, over there. He's going to talk a little bit about what our reading and interventions have done for his child. And we have Mr. Hogues, our school counselor, is going to talk a little bit about our Warrior Way. And then I have 5 rising warriors that will finish it out, our time out this evening, and they'll share a little bit about why they were chosen as the rising warriors for this past month. So I think that covers it. So we'll start with our reading team with Ashley, Lauren, and Nat. Go ahead, the time has started.
Good evening. I'm Ashley Kunkel. I'm one of 3 reading specialists at Franklin Township with Lauren Naylor and Natalie Garman. And we want to share with you tonight about a program we do at our school called Celebrate Reading. This is Franklin Township's book distribution program, and it's a way that we like to get kids excited about reading, and the 3 of us plan this each year. Our goal is to promote the love of reading and also to get books into the hands of kids so that they have books to read at home. We typically provide this distribution 3 to 4 times a year, depending on different things like how many books we have, timing, and scheduling. And we like to provide new and high interest and high quality books to students. So we choose books based on student recommendations. We ask the kids, we ask the teachers whether they like to read, and then we purchase those books. This program costs about $7,000 a year, and we do all of the funding for that on our own. The Gettysburg Optimist Club gives us a donation each year in the spring towards this. And our PTO used to be able to fund this, but they no longer were able to this year, so we paired with the Gettysburg Area Education Foundation and did a 12 days of readathon this December, which Lauren Naylor is going to talk about.
So through this online platform, we raised $5,446. We had over 131 supporters through our Franklin families and friends and local businesses. We had donations from Rarick Orthodontics, Melville and Sons Home Services, Kraus Electric, Bream Orchards, and AstraZeneca. We recently just found out that the Cashtown Lions Club donated $3,000 towards our cause. So we have a grand total of $8,446 that we are giving to purchasing books for our kids that we're really excited about. This is Natalie Garman next.
So our Celebrate Reading program, we've done twice a year so far. So we did it at the beginning of the school year, and then we did it once right before winter break. We plan to do another one during Read Across America week, and then we'll do our last one the last week of school so that the kids can enjoy reading at home. We plan to make the Readathon an annual fundraiser to help support our Celebrate Reading program.
Mr. Falk?
Good evening, Board. I appreciate you giving me the recognition. My name's Fred Falk. I'm a 1998. I know it's showing here in my platinum blonde hair. Graduate of Gettysburg High School. Also, I'm an alumni of Franklin Township Elementary. So this issue is especially close to my heart, being that both my children, Charles 9 in 3rd grade and Charlotte, Charlie, as we call her, is in 1st grade this year. I just have a brief statement that I'd like to read into the record to speak to the veracity of and commitment of the Franklin Township Elementary administration, and more specifically the special education and psychological support, occupational therapy support, and all those folks in general. In short, and bottom line up front, this program and all its organelles are an overwhelming success. The overwhelming success, and I'm saying that in the same sentence as a governmental program. I know that's a little bit of an oxymoron sometimes, but I can assure you that when we talk about these things, it's important to know that there are grand, wide sweeping successes, not just failures and copyright issues, all these things that we read about. As parents, I think we all worry about our children, and we all worry if our children aren't quite making the grade, so to speak. And you hear stories, and you worry about your children's ability to make the grade and do well. What I can honestly report to you is that the support that my children receive at Franklin Township has been massively positive and had a profound effect on their lives at all levels. My 6-year-old just started receiving a little bit of support, and it was identified very quickly. She got the support she needs. You're already seeing that. Already seeing that instantaneously, in fact. And not to outshine her, if that was even possible. She's 6 going on 16. But my son, 18 months ago, was effectively illiterate. He barely could read. He barely could put sentences. He barely could do letter and number recognition at all. And my wife and I were terrified. We were, honest to God, terrified. We didn't know. It was just through the sheer will of our faith and our hope in the administration and the learning support down at FTE that we thought he might have a chance. I can certainly say that the folks down there quickly identified his challenges, and I was told in no uncertain terms, and I directly quote one of the learning support teachers who she's currently sitting in this room, told me on the telephone, he will read. Not he might read. Not, we'll see if the budget allows or anything. No, he will read. I was like, oh, okay, he will read. I've been told he's going to read. Again, a little skeptical dealing with the government at any level, but I said, yeah, I know some of these people. They're good folks. We'll give them a shot. And in a very short time, as with my daughter, we started to see profound effects. And it was only a few days, really, based on some of the materials that they've been able to purchase through the district and through different funding and whatnot, that they were able to have what I believe to be cutting-edge materials cross-educationally. I mean, they said, this is the best stuff we have. This is what we're going to use. He will read. Okay, well, navigating the waters of IEPs and occupational therapy is daunting, to say the least. Again, we were leaning on our faith pretty hard to help him through this, and the ability in the short amount of time, the ability increases that he has shown and have been able to continue to show are a direct, let me emphasize this, causal effect of programs like this throughout the district, and more specifically FTE. But you don't have to take my word for it. My son, who's at Cub Scouts right now, I said, why aren't you taking me to Cub Scouts, Dad? Well, I got to go tell the board why you love the reading support teachers so much. He's okay. I said, would you like to add anything? My son, as you can tell, has a high charisma score like myself. And I said, well, just give me some words, Chip. Just give me some words to describe these teachers and administrators at Franklin Township Elementary School. This is his words, not mine. They are helpful. They are kind. They are loyal. They are cheerful. They have a great sense of humor, and they are always there for me when I need them, especially Miss Kunkel. I'm no general or admiral, but I would call that mission accomplished. It's tough when you talk about funding programs. I understand that. It's tough when we talk about salaries and what people deserve and education levels. Fund this fully for the love of these kids. Fund this and help this flourish. And I'd just like to thank you for your time, and I'd publicly like to thank everyone at Franklin Township Elementary School, the administration, and all the support for everything that they have done for my son and daughter and their family, and that, as they say, you belong, you're here, you have a place, you're loved and cared about, and I can certainly say that all you folks, administrators and otherwise, are beloved to us. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Falk. Okay, Mr. Hogue, you're up.
Good evening. So the Warrior Way is a foundational block of the culture of excellence and community that we strive to have at Franklin Township. It is composed of 4 overarching expectations: be here, be involved, be committed, be kind. And at the casting the net the widest of trying to encourage the children at Franklin Township to be engaged in that culture building and following those expectations. We have Caught You Being Good coins that are handed out liberally anytime we see students who are following those expectations. Then a step above that are the students that go a little bit above and beyond with those expectations, and they receive Warrior Badges of Honor. And then finally we have our Rising Warriors, which are 2 students that are nominated by their homeroom teacher every quarter. And the essential criterion we're looking for in Rising Warriors is a demonstration of growth mindset. At its core, having a growth mindset means that we embrace the idea, both in thought and action, that anything we come across on life's path can be beneficial to us in terms of our personal growth and learning. More specifically, we look for some of the following from our Rising Warriors: that they're trying to grow on purpose, either through setting goals or just seeking out challenges. This most often involves a lot of courage to face some new things and possibly even fail repeatedly. Next, persistence and grit are things we're looking for in a Rising Warrior, that they don't give up when things get hard, when they face adversity, when they fail. It's their stick-to-itness, if you will. and we believe that all mistakes are opportunities to learn. Next, the important companion to persistence is patience. We know that growth often looks like 2 steps forward and 1 step back, and those rising warriors don't get discouraged by those 1 step back moments or those plateaus, but they're able to kind of zoom out and view their growth from the larger picture. And our rising warriors are champions for others, and they help others grow. And this involves being happy for other people's successes as well as their own. And they're very careful not to compare themselves to others. And we know that comparison is the thief of joy, and that they just want to be a little bit better version of themselves today than they were yesterday. And they have a can-do attitude. In other words, it's our theme for the year, believe you can. So without further ado, we have some of our rising warriors with us tonight who are going to share some of the reasons that they were nominated by their teachers.
I was chosen to be Warrior of the Month because I was raising my hand in math, taking the risk and volunteered to answer, and I was I like to go up in front of the class and read the poems and paragraphs we all were working on. And at home, I was completing my own work and doing what I was doing in class. This is what my teacher wrote about me. I am so proud of Colton and the progress he has made. In oral reading fluency, how many words Colton can read correctly in a minute. He has grown by 41 words from the beginning of the year to the mid-year. He has jumped 2 levels. Colton grew from a below benchmark to an above benchmark status in ORF. The good news doesn't stop there. Colton also grew by 2 levels in computation, solving addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division problems on a benchmark status for computation. Colton's math scores for the first semester was above the class average. I believe Colton has been involved. He is engaged and participates in class. He thinks about his own responses to questions, but he also thinks about pondering and what is being stated or shared by others. He raises his hand to share his own best thinking. Colton has been all in, and it shows it. I am so proud of his progress and the student that he has become. I hope the choices he is making to be the best student he can be continued not only throughout the year, but throughout his entire school career. He has so much potential and will certainly be a leader.
Ophelia has been working hard to grow her mindset. Positive words are starting to take place of the negative thoughts. She has been trying when things are hard, engaging in the learning process, knowing that things may not always be easy, but it will always be worth it to try. Ophelia recognizes her areas of growth, and she even acknowledges that she has grown since the start of 2nd grade. Each day is a growing opportunity. Keep believing you can.
Good job, bud. Alexis. Is that the right height for you, bud? Yeah. Okay, there you go.
Hi everyone, my name is Alexis Martinez Castillo. This is what my teacher said about me. Oh my God. I'm sorry. Castillo is one of my rising warriors. He earned this award for continuing to have a positive attitude when learning new things. Alexis works hard every day in class, even if the new material is difficult. He's not afraid to take chances and try new skills.
Hello, my name is Poppy. I'm from Mrs. Forbes' kindergartner class. She chose me as a rising warrior.
Poppy was chosen because she is involved with her learning every day. She participates in each and every part of the day the first time she is asked. If you were in our classroom, you would see her raising her hand, showing whole body listening, and doing her best all the time. Not only this, but Poppy also gives gentle reminders to classmates if they are doing something that is making it hard for others to learn. She is great at keeping others on track and engaged in what they are supposed to be doing, all while keeping herself on track. We are so proud of Poppy for being a perfect example of what it means to be involved in our kindergarten classroom.
Thank you. That concludes our Spotlight on Education.
Well, first off, I would like to thank all of the young ladies and gentlemen who had addressed the board. You guys did a very good job. And thank you to the administrators and teachers and parents from Franklin Township. Thanks for coming to tell us about your school and what's going on at Franklin Township. Thank you.
Dr. Lappy, I just also wanted to say a big thank you for providing the monthly newsletters to the board to keep us abreast of things. And I think I understand now why you weren't nervous about tonight. You delegated everything to your team. Good.
About my school for days. Dr. Master said you
Okay.
got 10 to 15 minutes. I said I have
All
to
right.
pass this baton.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not leaving. I'm just saying goodbye.
And say I'll also echo that I think it's really indicative of the we read these newsletters and I'm always struck by how communal that particular school is and just getting everybody engaged. So it's really lovely to see all the students and everybody doing that here to represent it. Students, administrators, teachers, great stuff happening. So thank you.
All right, so moving on, we have a couple of more announcements. So we'll let back over to Dr. Perrin.
Yes, thank you again, everybody. I just wanted to pass along congratulations to our boys wrestling program at the high school. They won District 3 championship over the weekend, so I think that's their third championship in about 3 to 5 years, perhaps. So they've been pretty successful. So congrats to those coaches and those individual kids, and then obviously the collective team in those efforts. Also, congratulations to the high school mini-thon students. They had a volleyball fundraiser on Saturday at the high school and raised money for the Four Diamonds Fund for pediatric cancer, and it was a great event. I reminded myself that I'm 53 by trying to play. I'm still sore, but congratulations to all those students for putting that together, and thanks to all the students that participated, and thanks to all the staff that participated as well. Obviously, Four Diamonds is a fantastic philanthropy. And a couple reminders. February 16th is a professional development day, so the kids are off. February 19th, everybody in the district is off for President's Day. And due to the way that the holiday falls this month, the second board meeting of the month is a Tuesday, and that's February 20th instead of Monday the 19th. So just a couple things.
Thank you, Dr. Perrin. Well, moving on to citizens' participation. We do have one this evening. Ms. Christina Miller would like to speak with us about VITA charter renewal.
Hi, good evening. I'm Christy Miller. I'm the Executive Director of VITA Charter School. And on your agenda this evening is our 3-year renewal. So I appreciate your consideration and your vote for our next 5 years. Thank you, Mr. Moyer, for your positive remarks in last month's board meeting. And I want to thank Dr. Perrin and all of the district administrators who took some time to visit VITA and, of course, to review all of the documents that we provided from the past 5 years. I can appreciate that it's an extra burden on your time, and you're all very busy people. So thank you so much for that, doing your due diligence and considering all the aspects of our operations. And lastly, I just want to invite all of you as board members, other members of the administrative team. You are always welcome to contact us and schedule a visit if you want to take a look at what's going on in VITA. And I also look forward to future opportunities to partner with the district as many of our students transition out of VITA and move into your middle school and high school. So always interested in additional opportunities to partner and collaborate in the best interest of our students. Thank you very much.
Yep, thank you very much. So moving on to routine approvals. Could I get a motion, please, to combine 5.1 through 5.6?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a second. So are there any questions on anything between 5.1 and 5.6?
Mike, I don't have any questions about 5.1 through 5.6, but after we vote on that, can we back up and can somebody kind of just go over these plan cons so I understand what they are?
Yeah, we can do that. All right, so there's a motion on the floor with a second. There's no questions, so we'll go with roll call.
I do have
sorry.
a question
I'm
on
sorry,
5.1 through 5.6. Yes.
Okay, all right, Cindy, go ahead.
Okay. 5.5. The, could you explain, I read the email about New Story. What I don't understand, I guess, is why we need the replacement. Could you explain, and I understand it's supposed to be no added cost. Am I understanding that correctly? Does this take money away from other teachers? Does it?
No, it's money that's built into the special education budget because the support is specific to autistic support at the high school. As the IU is withdrawing its services, the services need to be replaced. So this is the vendor.
So the IU is actually withdrawing?
That classroom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
All right, are there any additional questions, 5.1 through 5.6? All right, hearing none, roll call. Cindy? Alice?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Jeremy?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Al?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Moving on for items for board action, I'm going to call for a motion to combine these, but I'll read through.
Did we want to go back to the plan?
Yeah, we can do that. So you had a question, Michelle, on item agenda 3?
Well, I just want to understand exactly what these are. It's probably for Belinda. Are these for our notes? Is that what this is?
PlanCon is a process that was instituted by Pennsylvania Department of Education many years ago to help districts reimburse for when they were doing building construction projects. And so for years, they instituted what was called PlanCon booklet, which is an A through JK workbook that you have to work through for your projects. And so each phase of the PlanCon is a different phase, such as one is architectural engineering, one is the actual cost, one is your bond process and renewal, whether you're doing a refinancing or a bond-free financing. It's all a part of this booklet. So Gettysburg, prior to me being here, had these projects in the pipeline before Department of Ed said, hey, we're no longer funding this and we're no longer providing funding for these projects. So these projects were long gone and done, and it took nearly up until about, I'm going to say, December, before the Department of Ed finally came through and said, hey, we need questions answered on your expenses that you've listed for these, which is the PlanCon J form. And so we responded to each one of those answers, and we made sure that all of our expenses were outlined accordingly. PD gave us approval. These are the letters. They say there's no further action on our part. This is the process that they go through to give us a reimbursable percentage in order to pay us from those funds that we had kind of like in before removal of the Plan Con process. So there is no more funding for Plan Con unless governor comes along and says down the road, hey, we want to start funding back to schools for school construction. There is no new money in this status. So this is an old, I mean, there were several, I don't know the exact number, but there were several schools stuck in that pipeline that had been waiting for a long period of time. And as you can see, some of these are going back since Franklin Township's renovation.
An ACTI.
An ACTI, yes, in the middle school. So
right.
these have been, and we have since refinanced some of these. So in other words, basically, now that we've got the percentage, I anticipate probably receiving now all these funds during audit renewal annually. Our auditors and I had conversations, do we expect to receive this money? If so, when? So we were always very hopeful to keep it on the books as a receivable because we had no idea. So this has been a receivable for a number of years. We have a receivable at approximately $1.1 million, but we will be lucky if we receive probably about $850,000 to $900,000. But that should come in this year and it'll satisfy the receivable. So it's not new money for us. It is just we consider it as money due to us as long as we were approved through the process for years in the past. And so this is good news because we can finally close the door on the whole Plan Con process. Does that help explain? It is a lengthy process, Plan Con. I'm kind of glad we don't no longer have it because it is a nightmare to go through them. I've gone through 3 of those in my previous history.
I've been through a lot.
Yeah, I've gone through several of those as well. So if I'm hearing you correctly, we are grandfathered in and we have a chance of getting some of those some reimbursement to these projects. And then I think I had been reading, Belinda, in Harrisburg, they are reconsidering, and I guess the governor gives his budget address tomorrow. That might be part of maybe what he addresses. But the rumor on the street is that they're going to put some monies back in the Plan Con for schools.
They are considering it, but again, it's talking about new funding for the whole project. But yes, this has been in the making for a while, and as soon as you get the reimbursable percentage, it'll dictate as to how much is reimbursed to the district.
Right. So we're basically stand the chance of receiving money that we had on our books as money that we were going to receive. So basically, the state's finally clearing its books, and it's good that we kept ours.
Yes.
It's basically the long and the short. Yeah.
Any other questions on those, Plan Con? All right, so moving on, items for board action. Once again, I'm gonna ask to combine these, but I'll read through what they are first. So 6.1 is the 5-year VITA charter renewal. That is just for the charter. 6.2 is the Riggle Wealth Group. 6.3 is policy 330 overtime. 6.4 will be policy 334 sick leave. 6.5 will be policy 335 family medical leave. 6.6 will be policy 336 personal necessity and bereavement leave. And finally, 6.7 will be policy 337 for vacation. Could I get a motion to combine those for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any questions on items 6.1 through 6.7?
Not a question, but another comment. And I thank the staff, the executive directors, the bosses at VITA for attending this evening. And I'm just going to say it one more time. I do believe that VITA Charter School does a great job. I believe that they meet the mission of 20 years ago, or however long it was, when charter schools first came about. They meet the true mission of what charter schools were all about with their dual immersion strategies and whatnot. And I've talked to a number of parents that are just really, really happy with the experiences that their kids are getting there. So congratulations to you all. Keep up the good work, and I'm happy to support your renewal.
Yeah, and thank you to the teams on both sides from Gettysburg School District and Vita as well for preparing everything.
All right, are there any other questions or comments on 6.1 through 6.7? All right, hearing none, roll call. Alice?
Yes?
Michelle?
Yes.
Jeremy?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Al?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
And I vote yes. All right, so moving on to 7 information items. So the first one is 7.1, the LIU general operating budget for 24 to 25. Any questions on that?
I have a question about it. So if I looked at all those documents that were sent, and obviously we just hired on News Story or outsourcing for News Story, however you want to call it, because LIU is cutting their teacher programs here for the high school.
I think that classroom is being closed, correct?
Okay.
But I think that most of the LIU budget, though, that you're reviewing are more like administrative costs, executive costs, unless I'm misspeaking, Belinda. So you wouldn't see that classroom, like you wouldn't see a reduction in the
Well,
LIU
and
budget.
I understand that. It's
Okay.
just, I guess I was looking through those salaries. I mean, we're talking administrative salaries are going up $280,000 in 4 years. That's a lot of money. So can you just explain to me what the purpose of the LIU actually is? I looked it up. I Googled what's the purpose of the LIU? And I got cost effectiveness. I'm not seeing cost effectiveness here. I mean, honestly, I don't see cost effective anything. It all just seems like government bureaucracy. And I understand that per school code, we have to have them. But it just, I don't know. It just seems like a lot of money going to, I don't even know what.
Great question. The Lincoln Intermediate, which you see this evening, is the general operating budget, which is mostly on administrative costs. It is a fee for districts to belong to the IU, that the Department of Ed mandates that districts belong to Lincoln Intermediate Unit. This is our overhead fee. This is required. This is taken from subsidy. This is not something that we pay direct. It comes right out of subsidy payments. And there is an IU board that takes care of all the adoption and the viewing of the salaries and the adoption of the budget. And then each board has to go back in the IU and approve their budget. This does not include the special education budget. This does not include additional costs that we rely on the IU for professional development, for technology, for infrastructure for technology, for joint purchasing. We use joint purchasing in terms of our utilities. We procure all of our energy sources from the IU. Internet. We procure some paper for supplies. Transportation to a degree. There is a huge wide of services that are over and above this particular option. But that is done through what's called their billing. We do through billing. In special education services, it is a monthly bill. Services range from $3.2 million to $3.5 million. And likewise for News Story, while the services are being reduced from the LIU, we still need to provide these services for our students. So we may not be spending the money to the IU, but we'd be spending the money to News Story. So it's not new money, it is just a shell of movement of money to make sure that we're providing the level of services. But the IU does more for us than just administrative services.
Right, so and their board decisions are made up of a board made up of board members from member boards. So, for instance, there's a rep on the LIU board that represents Fairfield, Upper Adams, and Gettysburg. And so there are, I believe, like 13 board members, maybe, somewhere around there. So there are sitting school board members that operate as the board for the IU, and make budget and financial decisions just like they do for the member districts.
And one other ancillary service that I like to also comment on is the LIU also employs the representatives for the Lincoln Benefit Trust, which we are a member of the Lincoln Benefit Trust, and we procure our health services through there. So while they take care of the salaries and benefits and the administration of LBT, LBT is also set up with a board of trustees that approve all the actions in terms of health care as well. But that is another ancillary service through the IU that we obtain.
Are there any additional questions on 7.1? Hearing none. 7.2.
Mr. Vice President, Acting President, 7.2, would like to see if we could table that to further discuss.
It's not action, it's information.
True, but I think we need to discuss it anyway, further than.
Yeah, we got some feedback from some of the board members when the agenda came out that they'd just like to, I think, to have a little further discussion on what that district seat represents and how we fill it.
Yeah, that's why it's information, so feel free to discuss.
Yeah. And my thought was it'd be nice to have someone who has somewhat of a strong affiliation to the school district. I was thinking, just thinking out loud right now, our new athletic director who, again, probably if it was involved with recreational or athletic activities, what a great way for this person to get to know some members of our community. I do think, and I checked on the website when they meet their board meetings, and they do meet monthly, and unfortunately, most of their meetings are on Mondays, and several of them conflict, so I think it would be difficult for a school board member to be the representative, but I would concur that it'd be great to have someone who has a strong affiliation with our school district.
Yeah, so basically the way it's listed right now is at the next meeting, there would be an action item where board members could nominate and vote on reps. So, it would be a challenge for the AD given the evening commitments of AD. And I wouldn't want to make him the rep without talking. So.
All right, moving on. 7.3, resolution for Adams County Technical Institute Authority. Any questions on 7.3? 7.4, professional services contract for Warriors Stadium renovations. Any questions about 7.4?
Actually, I have a comment about that, and
Go ahead, Michelle.
I think maybe before we really get into renovating the stadium a whole lot, we focus on some of the things that we absolutely have to do first, like the windows at Franklin, some of the other building projects. I think we should finish those before we start doing something else. I don't agree with tearing down the concrete bleachers on the visitor side. I would agree with building some sort of field house or something that could house the away team, particularly for weather emergencies. I was highly involved in soccer tournaments in the area prior a while ago, but I was, really involved with that, so I understand that, as soon as there's a bolt of lightning, you have to clear the field and you have to have some place for those kids to go. So I do agree with that, but I do not agree one bit with tearing down those bleachers and replacing them with something aluminum. I was over there. I've looked at those bleachers. I think they could probably be resurfaced. And that's what I have to say about that. But I really do think we need to focus on getting some of the other things done first. And I want to keep everybody in mind that the turf field that's sitting out there is coming up on 10 years old. And even though that's in our capital improvement plan to look at coming up, that turf field would involve student safety. It's wearing out. Anybody who's been involved with sports at all knows that a turf field doesn't last as long as people think it does, particularly when you use it as frequently as we do. I would be more inclined to put money towards the turf field rather than destroying concrete bleachers that could probably just use some resurfacing.
Just to answer some of your questions, Michelle, excuse me. From talks at the Finance Committee, first of all, the turf field is actually doing better than they thought it was going to do. So we think we're going to get more than 10 years out of it, which is a good thing. The bleachers, I don't think, from talking to Josh and them, it's not so much a resurfacing thing. It's just the actual concrete that's failing. So resurfacing isn't really going to help it. And all that stuff has been in the capital improvement plans anyway as a project coming up. Same with turf field eventually when it comes up. Now, it might be slated for a certain year, but if the field's in a good shape, it's just going to get bumped back a couple of years, so we don't have to spend that money that year. And as far as the team rooms, as I agree with you for safety issues for that as well, but not only do the middle school doesn't have locker rooms to adequate, say, Friday Night Football, or the track teams to be able to have a place to change into, or lacrosse teams, or the soccer teams, or whatever. Those students need to have a place to change, get ready, and for whatever sport they're participating in at the time. So that's how all this kind of come about, and we were trying to incorporate that along with the bleachers to make it a feasible project and not trying to do them separate and costing us more in the long term. Now, I do think we talked about maybe, I think they are separate as far as demo the bleachers and home side as to adding the nude for the home side, because we weren't going to put the same amount on the visitor side because they're hardly ever full. We need more seats on the home side. But that's where we're at with that, if that answers any of your questions, or if you have more.
Is the structural integrity of those bleachers, is that where are we at? Is that what I'm hearing, Josh? Like it's kind of reached the end of its lifespan with the concrete? Is that...
Yeah, we'd be able to retrofit that. It's concrete block support underneath the precast plank, which is what everybody sees and sits on. We have 2 times in the past, from what I understand, repaired that. So it's going to need some work here, and definitely in the next, I would say, 24 months. As far as resurfacing, we did get a price to put it's basically a parking deck coating. So they would repair the precast plank structure that everybody sees and sits on, right? And then they would put that deck coating on it. But it was, and this is going back 18 months, I believe it was like $250,000, $275,000 quote at that time to remove and replace the bleachers. Now only with half the seating, it's about $325,000. So at that time, we had made the determination it was better to go with removal and replacement with half the amount of seating, but a new aluminum structure is how we got to where we are now. So
thank you.
Is there an estimated lifespan of the aluminum structure?
As long as you maintain it and do necessary repairs and stuff, forever. Aluminum's a non-ferrous metal. It does not rust.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions on 7.4? Moving on to 7.5, capital improvement plan, 5-year plan for the Ferris zero-turn lawnmower. Any questions or comments on that? 7.6, capital improvement plan, 5-year plan to replace the 3-ton box truck.
How old is the truck?
It's 30 years old.
30?
30.
Thank you.
Last is 7.7. So we have a draft capital improvement plan for a 5-year plan, fiscal years 24-25 through 28-29. Are there any questions specific board members have while we have Josh here?
And again, it's basically just a 5-year look forward at any given time. And then obviously those priorities can be shifted from year to year depending upon what we're looking at or depending upon funding available. I'll point out, like for instance, for this year, on a pretty much ongoing basis in the district, we've put basically $1 million into capital improvements on a yearly basis. So in order to meet this year's budget, we reduced it from $1 million. We knocked 400,000 off. So in years like that, then we would just rearrange priorities and find out what fits within the 600,000. So box truck made it. It's pretty old, and we still need to mow. So that's on as well. So it's a snapshot in time, but it's a really good way of keeping track of those ideas as administrators change, as board members change. You don't need for one person to have the history then. You have a document that has the history, and it's important. Thanks.
I do have just a really quick, more just informational kind of idea. The document, I think, is great. It's very clear and provides a lot of information, so whomever was all involved in putting that together, thank you. At the bottom where it says items for discussion, I'm just curious, I guess, how those factor into the plan throughout. Is that sort of if, when, as they arise, just...
You want to answer that, John?
You're on page...
The items for discussion, 6. TBD, page 6, yes.
Yeah, so those items have been discussed at length in the past. So we just left those on really just for discussion. A couple of those, or the first one, for instance, was something that we had as an ad alternate in the high school HVAC project that we didn't select to do. But there is still a potential need for the weight room, for instance. So we just left those items on for future discussion. To Dr. Parent's point, not to lose track of them.
Yeah, it's a list of items not funded that have been discussed, in the past. So if someone 7 years from now says, did we ever consider doing X? It's
right, the need
yes, we did.
Again. Okay.
We just haven't put it in any of the years.
Great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Josh and Dr. Perrin. Number 8, board committee reports.
Well, the Building and Finance Committee met, and we talked about what we just talked about now, so that was pretty good. I believe our next one is the 22nd, I think, Thursday the 22nd. And I'm sure that they will put out the agenda for that right before the meeting.
Mr. Vice President, from a legislative standpoint, just informally, share that, again, Mr. Shapiro will be presenting his budget report tomorrow. I'm somewhat optimistic in there because the current funding formula for public schools was found to be unconstitutional, that they're looking at some pretty serious reforms. I anticipate, Belinda, possibly us getting a little more funding than in the past for public schools. I'm cautiously optimistic about that. But the thing I am somewhat excited about is that it sounds like charter school reform, especially cyber charter school reform, where we're being grossly overcharged, not just us, but every other public school in Pennsylvania. There's some serious consideration to making some reforms there, embedded there, rather than in just the House Bill 1422 that we've talked about before, or going through the Senate. So maybe as part of this process, that might be embedded in the new legislation or the new budget and the new funding formula. And so it's at least encouraging that they're taking a look at it after so long. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim Manow. And from the Policy Committee, so we'll be meeting on February 13th at 4 p.m. Here in the boardroom. And moving on to program reports, anything, Dr. Perrin?
Nope, I front-loaded it during communications. You all be happy to know.
All right, very good. Calendar of board events. So our next board meeting will be February 20th, which is a Tuesday, at 7 p.m. here in the boardroom. And may I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
This meeting is adjourned.